Good morning. It's Sean Price with Price and Price Realtors with this week's real estate market report. And again, these numbers are specific to Tysons, McLean, Vienna, and Great Falls. But you can kind of project this out over most of the Northern Virginia real estate market. We've seen a pretty significant change this week. I will give you an example. I've had three different situations come up with buyers who ended up in multiple offer situations. The key to know here for buyers is that that window we've been talking about at closing and closing, we're getting closer and closer to that window being gone and us being back into that strong seller's market. So for example, I have one client who was looking at several properties, and by the time it came down to decision time, she was looking at three properties. By the time it came down to decision time, two of those properties were under contract and they both had multiple offers, and that was in a period of a day. I have another buyer, same situation. They looked at a property, had about a 2 or 3 day window before they were able to get back in for a second look, went to try to schedule the second look, and the property was under multiple offers. And that property had been on the market for 3 days. So it's happening again. Good thing is that it's not as chaotic as it was before the COVID-19 situation, but it's getting there again. So the numbers, this is the way the numbers look this week. So the number of houses that came onto the market, the new actives and the back to actives, that was up by 22% over last week. So there's more inventory coming onto the market based on new properties. Now the numbers here are a little tricky for this week, so follow me on this. So new actives and back to actives were up by 22%. The active under contracts and the pendings were actually down by 13.5%. So buyer activity compared to last week was actually lower. Okay, this is interesting. Doesn't mean buyer activity was lower. It means that contracts were lower, and that's you have a lot of buyer activity, but they're competing for a given amount of inventory. So it appears that we actually had a 70% ratio of new properties on the market to properties that were sold. So it appears that there's a 30% excess in inventory. So it should be more of a buyer's opportunity, but that's not what we're seeing. So if you dive deeper into the numbers, you can see that the number of withdrawn properties was actually up by over 130%. So it doubled by 1.3. So basically it went from 10 properties that were withdrawn up to 23 properties that were withdrawn. So why were these properties withdrawn? It could have been a pricing issue, could have been a condition issue, it could have been a marketing issue. But there were 23 properties that came off the market. So if you take the net of the new properties that came off the market, and then you take the ones that were taken off the market, that brings your inventory down, and then the number of properties that went active under contract and were right there in that strong seller's market again, and that explains the multiple offer situation. So we're at 109% ratio of net inventory to active under contracts and pending. So what does this mean for buyers? This means that for buyers, the time for trying to make a decision, the time for choices, that window's closing. It's time to get out there, find the property, and once you find it, you got to make a move. And be prepared to pay close to retail, close to asking price. All of these properties that I discussed earlier in the video, they all went for above ask because there were multiple offers. So consider yourself fortunate to get in there and get a property before it gets into multiple offer situations. And there are still those opportunities, but that's closing. For sellers right now, it's a great time to get back in the market. The buyers are there. Yes, we don't see the full rush of buyers back in the market. A lot of people are still holding back, but the buyers are still there. Houses are still selling. We actually had our closings almost doubled last week compared to the week before. So deals are getting done, houses are moving, and it's an opportunity. It's still a window. It's a window for buyers to try to get in there without multiple offers. It's a window for sellers to get in there and take advantage of the fact that there's not much inventory, so you can actually get that situation and get the property sold. So that's where we are for this week, and if you have any questions, please feel free to post below or reach out to us, and we will see you on next week's report.